Hello, once again. Today we are talking about poetic drama. Let's have a look at the background. The later half of the 19th century is associated in the minds of most people with the rise of problem plays. And we have two names, John Bernard Shaw and John Galsworthy, who were considered, or who are rather considered, as the fine products of this movement related to problem plays. But side by side, we see that along with this realistic drama and perhaps transcending the depths of, say, plums, was also coming into existence the poetic and symbolic play. Now we know that the problem play, it chose to concentrate on the earthly realities of daily life. That means all the problems, domestic problems or common problems, which are associated with mankind in general or people in general, and talking about social realities that was happening around. Like, for example, very minor things, getting and spending, marriage and divorce. Then we have adjustment between man and wife, their problems, marital problems or problems related with marriage. And the poetic plays, which were another side of the realistic drama, which was aiming at sounding a deeper note, taking this plot or the plot of realism into its texture. Now, when we look at the term poetic drama, it is also known as, or the common name for this is verse drama. And this is known to be any drama which is written as verse to be spoken. Now, this is important to understand because when we say poetic drama, it is a drama which is written in verse, but then written as verse to be spoken, how we speak that. Verse drama has been the prominent form of drama in Europe, and although it was also important in non-European culture, but it was more popular in Europe. And we also have examples in of Greek tragedies and Racin's play, which are written in verse. And we also see that it is almost present in all of Shakespearean plays or Shakespeare's drama. And also, Goethe's Faust is a good example to understand verse drama. Verse drama or poetic drama is particularly associated with the seriousness of a tragedy because it provides an artistic reason to write the drama in this form. And also we know that it is a practical reason that verse lines are easier for the actor to memorize exactly. And when we have rhythm, melody and verse, it is easier for the actors to memorize and produce it on the stage. uh, in the second half of the 20th century, we see that verse drama almost fell out of fashion because dramatists who were writing in English, say for example, the plays of Christopher Fry and T.S. Eliot, they actually being possibly they are considered to be the end of a long tradition of the verse drama that begins with Greek tragedies and continues with Shakespeare, and then coming up to Eliot, we see that the verse drama almost started declining. And for many centuries, we see that the Greek onwards, like the Greek tragedy onwards, throughout the Europe, the natural and the most exclusive medium for the composition and presentation of any dramatic work, and with any kind of pretension or seriousness, was considered to be the status of any art. And when we look at the history of Western drama, the twin origins of the Western drama, we have on the one side the Greek festivals, which are depicted or represented in the rituals of the medieval church, and they naturally predisposed the use of verse. But for tragedy, the verse or writing in verse or drama writing in verse has long remained the only proper vehicle to convey exactly the type of emotions and sentiments that the playwright wanted to convey. In comedies, we see that the use of prose was becoming common because when we look at Shakespeare's play, we see that he used prose in only comic scenes. In rest of the tragedy or rest of the drama, he used the verse form, but in in the comic scenes, he used prose, especially those when it was considered or concerned with low life, just because to present an effective contrast between certain scenes of the tragedies and histories play, and also sometimes to show a kind of increasing awareness among the spectators, uh, to have a contrast of possibilities in the medium, how prose differs from verse and which is more emphatic and which is more powerful and more rhetorically conveying the right kind of meaning. That is why it already contained an implicit association between prose and realism. And we also see that we say that when we talk of realism, we always talk of it in the sense of or speak in the language of prose, because poetry is more for either sentiments of happiness or joys or sorrows or unhappiness, grief, etc. So the common language of expression is always prose as considered. That is why in the comic scenes, particularly which dealt with the low life, he used prose rather than verse. But then verse continued to be the dominant medium of tragedy. Throughout the 17th century, we have all the dramas or all the tragedies which are written in verse. Now, when we talk of, we were talking of Shakespeare and talking of the Greek context, when we talk of English, we see that the Romantics and the Victorians, they have also written verse dramas. And these dramas or their dramas were constituted particularly with the intention of a kind of revival or a conscious effort to bring back poetry to the theatre. Because when we look back at the Romantics, there was a kind of a potential audience which still considered that verse and only verse or poetry was the proper medium of tragedy to render down or to for the proper rendition of emotions or ups and downs that were going in the mind of the actor or the characters. So the theatrical inexperience, but on the contrary, what happened was that the poets had no experience of the theater, and that is why it made them, this inexperience made them ill equipped for the real kind of dramatic achievement that was targeted or focused at to be achieved. Again, we have examples of Wordsworth. The Borderers is an example of verse drama. Then we have Coleridge writing Remorse, and Keats also writing O to the Great. Now, these examples, they tell us that they were not very popular, and so they remain only antiquarian interest, and they are always judged as works for the theatre. But we really don't know, because since they were not very popular, we don't know how it came into existence or how they were written. At least for the Borderers, we say that among the three of these, it is considered to be the better, having a poetic substance, as better as compared to Otho the Great and Remorse. Uh, Slightly more kind of a praise can be extended to Byron, because Byron, when he wrote verse dramas as Manfred and Marino Falerio and Shelley, he also wrote Sensai, which contains some of the scenes which have a considerable amount of power and depth as far as drama and verse drama is concerned. Now, coming back to Eliot, because when we talk of poetic drama in the context of modern or 20th century, we have the name of T.S. Eliot, who wrote verse dramas in an effort or an attempt to revitalize verse dramas and use this kind of a genre or form to treat the same themes as he was dealing in poetry. And we have a very popular verse drama of T.S. Eliot, Murder in the Cathedral, which dealt with the final hours of, say, Thomas Becket, the family reunion. Then we have the cocktail party. Then we have the confidential clerk. Then we have the elder statesman. So these are few big dramas or names, famous works by T.S. Eliot, which made him popular as a writer of verse drama. Uh, we quickly have a recap at the features of what we know or understand what poetic drama or verse drama is. It is a composition which is obviously designed for performance in a theater, and we know that in every drama the performance is important. In poetic drama or verse drama, the dialogue is written in verse that we have known in our earlier slides also. And how do the writers write is the blank verse is considered to be the only and the popular medium to write dramas in verse. Sometimes, uh, like in French, what we know as blank verse is the 12 syllable line, which is known as the Alexandrine. And we know that almost all the heroic dramas of the English Restoration period, although they were written in heroic couplets. Now, what do we know by heroic couplets is we already know that heroic couplet is an iambic pentameter line which rhymes in pairs. So, an iambic pentameter line that rhymes in pairs was the popular or the chosen medium or by the English Restoration period writers. And we know that a poetic drama is is one in which poetry and drama is fused. So the dialogue between the characters is always in poetry or verse, and therefore the play becomes a combination of music, imagery, rituals, etc. And all these features, they provide a great intensity or great beauty to the drama, and they create high intensity and dramatic effect. And that is why verse dramas are interesting to watch and read. So this is all about the poetic drama and the verse drama. In our next session, we will take up theater of the absurd,